Hey y'all, what's up? All right, let's see here. We got 8 people in the lobby.
Oh, I'll be there in a minute.
Oh, okay.
I'm putting more bobindums on my car.
Nice. Get that extra grip. Sounds good. I'll just wait till you guys get in. All right. In the meantime, while you guys get in, I'm going to talk about just a little bit about what we're going to work on today, and how it ties into yesterday, or not yesterday, last week. So last week, right, we were trying to get familiar with the feeling of being on the limit of grip when we're turning. We're gonna basically continue that progression, but we're gonna start applying it to tighter turns. So mainly like turns. There's like 3 main hairpins here. Turns 1, and then I think it's like considered turn 4 or something like that, and then the last hairpin. We're gonna do like a mini track walk, and I'll go through what is considered a geometric line, and then we'll practice the geometric line for maybe like 20 minutes, and then we'll talk about a more optimal line that improves your exit speed by doing a late apex, and then we'll practice that for another like 20 to 30 minutes or so. And we'll see the difference in our lap times between the 2 sessions. The other thing too is that the last turn, like the long right-hander, it's just like a shorter version of what we had at Kyoto Miyabi, right? So we'll get to practice kind of like keeping your car on the limit around that corner as well when you're like slowing the car down. Oh, I want to point out too that it's kind of a more theory and theoretical kind of thing is that to make sure, so like the ideal like driving around a track, right, is to just be on the limit of grip at all times, right? And the safest way to do that, and the best way to progress to getting to that limit without exceeding it at any point in time, is just to be as smooth as possible, right? Have smooth inputs. So when your inputs are incredibly smooth and consistent, you'll be able to notice like when you're getting really close to the limit, and if you exceed it, you won't exceed it by much, right? You'll exceed like the grip limit by just only a little bit because you're doing everything smoothly, right? If you're like braking hard and turning in quickly and then like correcting too much and stuff, it's going to be hard for you to determine how close you are to the limit and to be there consistently. So just remember that when we're doing laps here, just remember to be smooth out your inputs, like smooth your turn-ins. Just have it be like generally all around smoother and more gradual inputs as opposed to like very sharp inputs and very sharp corrections. All right. Let's see. All right, 12 people in lobby. I think that's pretty much it, right? I think we got everyone in here. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. All right. So we'll get started. Okay, so everyone leave the track and then go back into the lobby. And then I will do we'll do a track walk. So everyone go and spectate my car. If you don't know how to do that, once you're in the lobby, hit the spectate button, and then you can go spectate my car. And then I would recommend going to chase cam when you're looking at my car. I think it's R1 to change the view.
Square if you're on a wheel.
Oh no! I'm Wonka.
Hey.
All right.
Yeah, I'm off track. I wanted to do one lap to see how far away I was from Dutra.
I think everyone will be far away from Dutra. Dutra's just an alien or robot.
1 second.
Okay.
Exactly.
So let's talk about a racing line through a corner, right? So let's talk about just a basic geometric line, which means like you're maximizing the radius around the corner, right? And to do that, you want to enter the corner from the left side most possible, hit the apex in the center of the track, and then exit on the outside again, right? So if I were to come in here and do a geometric line, I'm entering the corner, and then I start closing in as I get to the center of the turn. So like right around, I believe, here. This would be the apex, so this is like the middle of the turn. If you can kind of see on the right-hand side, there's the barrier there, how like it ends. Part of it ends, and then another part continues. I think that's where the middle of the corner is. So then you're here on the inside of the turn, and then you start accelerating, right? And if you're on the limit of grip, the acceleration of the car pushes the car out wide to the exit here. So pretty basic stuff, right? And when you're increasing the radius of your turn through the corner, that means you can increase your minimum speed. So here, the same thing. You want to kind of come from the left side, so you can set your car up around here, brake around this side, right? Outside, go in, and then you start closing in onto the apex. And I think there's like this little like seam here in the curb. I think that's the center-ish accelerator, and then you start getting pushed out to the outside of the curb. Again, wider radius, higher minimum speed. Same here, right? Outside, apex, and then outside again. And then same deal here, right? So braking, and then you hit the apex, and then outside again. That one was a little bit more of a late apex. Hold on, let me go back here. So I think the center of this turn is kind of like a little bit of a different turn, because it's kind of shaped a little bit weird, but you can see like the center of the turn is probably right around here, right? And you can kind of see the tire marks where they get really close to the curb. So it's like right around this area here. You can actually kind of see a seam here at the curb as well. And then when you're at the middle, you're kind of pointing maybe between the Marshall box. So you're kind of pointing to that radio tower right there, the wire tower. And then, yeah, again, accelerator out to the outside. All right, and then the final corner, same deal as Miyabi, right? So you want to gradually slow your car down, and then get the car slowed down. As you slow down, you can rotate the car more. You'll hit the apex right around here, and then kind of like in the middle of where the curb was, and then outside again. Yeah, and so just remember that when you're doing these turns, right, you're being smooth on the accelerator, smooth on the brake, and then smooth on the turn in as well. So just practice that, and then try to practice being at the limit of grip at the entire time you're doing this. And remember that you know you're on the limit of grip by hearing the tires squeal, right? If you're not hearing the tires squeal, that means you're probably under driving the car. You're under the limit of grip. So we'll do like 20 minutes of like practice with just like doing a geometric line. And then we'll do another like track walk, and I'll talk about doing a late apex and how that improves your lap times by a drastic amount by having better exit speed. All right, so yeah, we'll get out on track and then just practice. And then if there's someone who's like coming up behind you and they're faster, just like let them by. Yeah, I would say for when you're starting out, focus on getting the line right at a slower pace, and then as you're comfortable with the line that you're consistently hitting the apex at the middle point of the track, then you can kind of like increase just incrementally like how fast you go into the corner and how hard you brake, for instance. Like I would say do it like if you're not comfortable quite yet with the racing line, I'd say maybe do it at half speed or 3/4 speed, just so that you kind of get the muscle memory and the feeling of like when you turn in and stuff like that. So definitely do it slower at first, and make sure you're actually getting the line right.
Wonka, what's your brake marker for turn 1?
It's like one of the skid marks. Like there's like it's like you know how like right before the uphill part of the entrance to that turn, there's like a bunch of skid marks. It's like right it's like a car length after they start, basically, I think.
Okay.
It's a very bad braking marker, to be honest, because it's like not well defined. It's not well defined, but it kind of works.
Mine is just before the fence starts on the left, behind the barrier.
Alright, I'll try that. Ah, not today, Turtle Man.
It's still early in practice. Turtle could get a better time later.
Turtle can't get a better time, but we're at the opposite end of the spectrum as to where we're normally at right now. Like, we're fighting tenths away from Dutra. Like, it ain't getting much quicker.
That's very true. That is extremely true.
I think B French is an alien in disguise.
Uh, 107.5 is a pretty good time.
Oh!
Yeah,
Sorry, Turtle.
like Turtle was saying earlier, it's consistency is what's going to make you a good race car driver, right? Like, if you can get an insanely fast lap 1 out of every 10 laps, that's not going to really make you fast overall, right? But also, though, if you really get to know the car at its limit, right? If you're smooth and you understand what the car feels like just above the limit or just below the limit, right? At any point through the turn, like the entrance, the middle, or the exit, you'll become like intimately familiar with like how changes in the track conditions affect the car, how the setup affects the car, how tire wear affects the car as well, right? And how to mitigate those changes or adjust your driving compared to those changes, right? And so, like, when you focus on lap time and just getting the best possible lap time you can, or the fastest lap time you can at all costs, it's not going to help you become like a better driver overall, right? A better race car driver. Like, you might be good at hot lapping, 1 out of 100 laps to get the best time in the top, 100 leaderboards or whatever, right? But like, it's not going to help you develop a car. It's not going to help you adjust to race conditions in an endurance race. It's not going to help you it's not going to help you adjust to like breaking off of the racing line when you're trying to pass or you're going side by side with someone through like the S's at Suzuka, right? So like, I think the focus of this whole academy session that I've been kind of wanting to work on and prioritize is just getting intimately like familiar with that edge of grip, right? And trying to understand and getting a really good feeling of how the car behaves at that limit. Yeah, to add to that,
Traffic
right?
in the hairpin.
To add to that, try to get your laps to be as consistent as possible, right? Obviously, there's going to be situations where like you run into traffic and whatnot, but like, try to make your laps as consistent as possible. And then once you're consistent, try to make small adjustments to make it faster, right? In like turn 1, like maybe brake a tiny bit later if you feel like you're not braking enough, but keep out all the rest of the lap the same. And then if you improve by a little bit, then you can adjust elsewhere, right? It's kind of like it's kind of tough because you're kind of juggling multiple things at once. You have to like remember where you brake for each corner, which corners you're going to change, which not, like which ones you're going to keep the same. But again, just try to focus on consistency, like getting the apexes down, like making sure you're hitting the apexes. And then once you have those two, right, then focus on speed or incrementally increasing your speed. I think one of the dangers of GT7 with respect to like some of the other hardcore sims is that it can be a little bit more forgiving when you're around the limit of grip. And I think what I've seen a lot, especially from people transitioning from GT7 to like iRacing, for example, is that they're simply just overdriving the car, like trying to brake too much, trying to turn too much, trying to slide their car through the turn too much. I'd say the biggest thing I see often is just people braking too late. Like, again, I mentioned this in week 1, but trying to improve your lap times by just simply braking later is like probably one of the worst ways to try to improve your time, and it's probably the most difficult to be consistent at. Brake early, I'd say brake early, and then just let off your brake pressure as you enter the corner if you start losing too much speed, right? That's like the easiest way to be consistent, but also you don't lose that much time by braking just a little bit earlier with a little bit less brake pressure. It's better to be like maybe a tenth slower on the entrance of the corner, but be like consistent 99% of the laps, as opposed to missing your braking point and braking too late for the turn and then missing out on several seconds over the course of a couple laps because you can't seem to brake at the right braking point precisely every time. So yeah, remember, if you're having trouble hitting the apex, like, just brake a little bit earlier. Just let go of the brake pressure as you enter. And then remember, smooth inputs. So like brake, and as you let off the brake, smooth let off, smooth application of gas. Yeah. The last turn you do need a brake a little bit, yeah. Yeah, you need a brake just a little bit, but not much. I would say focus on doing it before the turn in. And then once you get comfortable with that, then start to like trail your brakes as you start turning in, right? But I would say focus on slowing the car down first just a little bit, so that when you turn in, you can like kind of scrub off the speed just by turning in, like you could do from turn 1 at Miyabi. Yeah. Yeah, because if you try to just brake and turn at the same time, going that last turn, it's kind of like you're trying to do two things at once. I would say just slow the car down first, and then try to get that minimum speed through the corner as high as possible. And then once you kind of get that down, then you can probably try to see if you can trail into the corner with your braking. All right, a couple more laps, and then we'll do our second track walk and talk about late apexes. Ooh, Turtle with the time.
Oh, Turtle Man.
12 thousandths of a second.
Uh-oh. Roadblock for Reptile. Almost all of my laps are within a few tenths of each other. I just need to get that extra second. Want to be an alien, bro. Can't park there, Turtle Man. That's fair.
All right, so when you guys finish your next lap, just hop back into the lobby and jump off track, and then go into spectate mode again, and then find my car.
Aha! How about that, Turtle Man? I've got you now by like 14 thousandths. It's my lap.
Oh,
I am
man.
the superior reptile in this lobby.
Raising the stakes. All right, so everyone go and spectate my car. Okay, so the difference between a geometric line and a late apex. So a geometric line just increases our minimum radius essentially to hopefully increase our minimum speed throughout the corner, right? But that's all nice and theoretical now, but the reality is that the track in every corner isn't like an isolated instance. And also the way grip behaves with the car isn't exactly like optimal in a perfect half circle around the corner. So the ideal scenario around a track line around a corner is to get the best exit as possible for the car that you have. And it'll kind of depend on the type of car, but we'll kind of just get into that later. We're just going to focus on the cars that we have. So our geometric line, right, will apex at the center of the corner, right? But what we want to do is we want to slow the car just a little bit more on the entrance, and then rotate the car more before the apex, and then start accelerating and hit an apex around here. So you see the difference? An apex here is like the geometric one. So if you want to start accelerating from here, you have to really be gentle on the accelerator, right? As you kind of push the car out. You have to basically kind of like slowly apply the accelerator if you want to make sure you don't overshoot it into the grass, right? But if you come at this corner from an angle that's more of a late apex angle, so like if you're crossing the middle of the corner from the outside a little bit here, sorry, that's a little bit too far out, like here, right? And you've already rotated most of the car you needed for the corner, you can actually apply the accelerator at a much greater amount earlier through the corner. So like when you apex around here, you can accelerate more as you exit the corner. And then what happens is you have a higher speed throughout the entire straight after the corner. And so if you're going through the entire straight at like 3 to 4 miles per hour more than you would from a geometric line, you're going to be gaining time the entire time you're going down that straight, right? So the longer the straight is after a corner, the more important it is to have a good exit from that corner. So like if we're looking at the track that we're looking at right now, that we're on right now, the most important one would probably be the late apex, or sorry, the last hairpin that you have before that long straight on the back before the last turn. But so we'll just go through the rest of the track, talking about showing the example of the late apex, right? So again, here, instead of a geometric line and hitting the apex in the middle of the corner, you kind of want to go in the entry a little wide and then close in towards the exit, so apexing around here, pretty close to where this green area is, right? Where it ends. That way you can get on the gas more as you exit, or you can get on the gas a little bit earlier at full speed, and then again your exit speed throughout the exit, the rest of the straight after the corner is going to be higher than it would if you apexed in the middle. Here, this corner you don't really need to apex late, because this one you don't really need to slow down much for. You just kind of want to keep a good minimum speed throughout the corner. So here, just treat this one as like almost like the same as a geometric apex, just apex around here. The important thing is keeping minimum speed high through that corner. And then here's the important, right? The important one is you want to get the best exit you can from here. So again, slightly wider entrance, rotate the car, and then as you start closing in, like apex late and accelerate. Does anyone have trouble seeing the difference between this late apex line and a geometric line? Yeah, it's pretty clear, right? You just, oh, go ahead. Yeah, so again, you're sacrificing a little, like maybe a tiny bit of time on the entrance by going a little bit wide, and then you're rotating the car a little early, but then you're able to get on more power earlier on the exit, right? And again, like any straight that's after a corner, if you're going through the entire straight like 5 miles an hour faster than you would if you took a geometric line, the longer that straight is, the more time you're going to gain, right? And then for now, just like treat this one kind of similar to how you're just doing it. Just keep focusing on the hairpins, the late apexes at the hairpins. On the last turn, just treat it like you were previously. I wouldn't focus too much on the last one. Again, like the last corner, and then that sort of like 90-degree right-hander in the middle of the track, just focus on keeping minimum speed through those. But then the 3 hairpins, you want to maximize the exit speed by doing a late apex. All right. So let's get out on track and then practice the late apexing. Does anyone have any questions about the late apexes or anything about the hairpin turns? All right. Let's see if our lap times improve, right? So I think we all had a pretty decent idea of what times we were doing before, but again, like, I wouldn't even focus much on your lap times. Just focus again on like the feeling of the car, like the feeling of like the wheel or your feedback or whatever controller you're using, like that feeling of the feedback in the car when you nail a corner, right? Sometimes like when you nail a corner, you kind of like, damn, that felt really good. Like that's the kind of feeling you want to like make sure you kind of capture and remember every time you go through these corners. And again, smooth, right? Smooth inputs. So like if you're changing your line, right? Maybe don't change it by too much. Maybe just make small incremental changes. There is one caveat that I want to mention, that I want to point out too in these turns, is that you don't want to take your entry line so wide in the corners on the entrance that you get into the marbles, like the rubbery marbles that you see on the track. Those will actually give you less grip throughout the corner. So try to still avoid those on your entry line, right? Just like your entry line should be wider than the geometric line, but it shouldn't be extremely exaggerated. It should be subtly more wide. Yep. Yeah, GT7 has like pretty solid physics when it comes to these smaller details that they've added. Like, one of my favorites is that in the rain, they made it just like real life, where the rubbered racing line becomes slipperier when it's raining, because the rubbered inline has like all the oils from the rubber. And when it gets wet, those oils kind of go to the surface. No worries. And then the off the racing line is actually, you get more grip in the rain, because there's less rubber, and typically the like abrasiveness of the surface is typically more rough off the racing line because it hasn't been worn down as long. And in GT7, they correctly model that on track whenever it rains, so it's pretty cool. I don't know if they do it dynamically based off how much rubber is in on the track and on the line, or if it's just kind of like a prefix thing. I would imagine it's prefixed, but it's still cool regardless. Yeah, it's really nice.
Be nicer if they showed you.
I know, right? They need like, yeah, tire temperatures especially. They need to show you more stuff like that. But like, yeah, you can learn how to race in the rain extremely well by playing GT7. I'd say the only few things that GT7 does that probably is a disservice to learning how to I think drive, I don't know, quote unquote correctly, is that I think it's, again, like I mentioned this earlier, it's a little forgiving when you're at the limit of grip, and you can kind of slide around, especially these production cars. You can kind of slide them around, and I think a little bit more than you would be able to in more hardcore sims. And then I think there's also kind of like weird exploits that you can do as well with like the physics exploits in this game. I think
And the transmission.
yeah, and the transmission, like controller especially, because you can like move the steering angle of the car like pretty much instantaneously from like left to right. You can like, you're basically moving the wheel like 180 or sorry 1080 degrees, like full lock left to basically, you know, 1080 full right lock, and like that obviously you can't really do that quickly in a car, for instance. And so you can kind of exploit some of those things to be a bit faster in the game than you probably would be able to in like some of these other sims. I mean, yeah. That one especially irks me a lot, is when you can just like downshift like crazy and then get all this, yeah, and then get all this extra crazy rotation. Yeah, it's not. Those aren't good habits, I think, that GT7 kind of incentivizes. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of iRacing lately, and it's pretty interesting seeing the things that I've like appreciate about GT7 and things that they kind of do wrong. But like GT7 does like a fair amount of stuff like pretty well, you know. I think a lot of people, when they call it like, oh, it's an arcade or a simcade, I think it's like, it's pretty damn good, like good enough for you to get pretty fast if you come at it with the right mindset and the right fundamentals. Like I grew up with GT7 or GT games, and like I think I would consider myself pretty fast in iRacing. So it's not like, I think people have this idea that like, oh, you need to have a hardcore sim to be like, you know, legitimate, and then they're like saying this when they're like, you know, an iRating of 1,000 on iRacing. Which is not high. Yeah.
Oh, dude just wiggling his controller around, and he's faster than all of us.
Yeah, Dutra has like figured out like the motion control with the controllers, and how to like really take advantage of like using the steering angles with the controller to be extremely fast. Like it's pretty insane. Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's just what it's a whole different thing, right? Like I think if you're looking for a more like relaxed experience, I think GT7 is a really great game. And then there's like
minus sport mode.
yeah, minus sport mode, yeah. But the thing is, like, iRacing is like, you know, you don't get people like intentionally trying to crash you all the time as much, but you still get it in iRacing, and you still get people with incredibly bad habits and bad racecraft in iRacing.
Bro, if you look at the percentage of people that in the world that are morons, like you're bound to find some of them on iRacing, even if they can hot lap pretty fast.
Yeah.
You just find people that make boneheaded moves.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like egos can almost even be like worse on iRacing because there's a whole mentality of being like, oh, you know, like I'm a sim racer, I'm on iRacing, I have this like iRating. And I feel like people take iRacing way more seriously, and the people who take themselves way more seriously can be like the worst on iRacing. Yeah, I like serious, but like you can't have like this ridiculous ego, you know? Like I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I think that's, to be honest, I think it's fine if like iRacing is like your main thing in life, but like if you're gonna get like butthurt that like someone's gonna pass you on track and you try to force them off, you know, by doing some pretty dirty moves, like then you have a problem. You know? Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Mainly my eyes are kind of following almost like the rubbered line on the longer ones especially. So like on that last turn, for instance, right? You kind of want to look at like the rubbered line, which is like the racing line basically, but like just further up ahead. That's what I tend to do, I think, with my eyes on these longer turns, is have like an approximation of like where my car should be and like what the trend is happening. So like when you look at that last turn and you look at the rubbered line going inwards, right, you'll see that the line is like getting closer and closer to the apex as you're turning in, right? And you want to make sure your car is like approximately on that line. And as soon as you can see where you want to apex, my eyes will fix to that. And then after that, after you hit the apex, it's basically just the exit of the corner. At it or just behind it, pretty much. And then after,
just before it.
Yeah, just before it. And then as soon as you're there, right, you want to look at where your car wants to be on the exit, which is like the far side of the corner, right? I see. And then you essentially, are you like having to like give yourself like maintenance throttle to like make sure you hit the apex correctly? Hmm. I think if you're like overshooting it or undershooting it, and that's the inconsistency you're having, it probably has more to do with your braking point and your consistency of speed going into the corner. So for the last turn, for instance, right? Are you braking at the same point every time, and are you braking at the same amount every time? Like speed, okay, because like speed, and then also your position of your car should be the same on the intros as well, right? So if you get like speed, position, and your braking done like consistently every time, and you're entering the corner with the same speed, you should be able to like hit the apex pretty consistently.
Yeah, so there's the geometric apex where you want to slowly get onto the throttle as you reach that middle of the corner, and